In the Gospel of John, there is a single verse, almost an aside, that would trouble scholars for nearly 2,000 years. It describes a pool in Jerusalem, a place of healing, near the sheep gate, and it gives one strange, oddly specific detail. The pool was surrounded by 5 covered porches. 5. For centuries, that number would be treated not as fact, but as fiction. The verse is simple. Now there is, in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, a pool which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos. The name itself carried meaning. Bethesda, house of mercy, house of grace. And in John's account, it was here that Jesus healed a man who had been unable to walk for 38 years. But it was not the miracle that troubled the scholars. It was the architecture. The problem was that number: 5 porticos, 5 covered walkways surrounding a single pool. In the ancient world, pools and colonnades were almost always built as rectangles. 4 sides, 4 porches. A 5th made no architectural sense. No one built a 5-sided pool. So where did the number come from? To many scholars, the answer seemed obvious. The gospel writer had made it up. A theory took hold. The 5 porches, scholars argued, were never meant to be real. They were a symbol. 5 porches for the 5 books of the Torah. The 5 books of Moses, which the gospel suggested, were now surpassed by the healing power of Christ. It was an elegant interpretation. The pool was a metaphor, a piece of theology dressed up as geography. And the man who wrote John, they concluded, had likely never seen Jerusalem at all. This fit a much larger argument. For much of the 19th and 20th centuries, the Gospel of John was treated as the least historical of the 4. It was seen as the latest, the most theological, the most removed from the events it described. A book of spiritual reflection, written long after the fact, by someone far from the real streets of Jerusalem. The 5-sided pool became a small but telling piece of evidence. If John could invent a pool, what else had he invented? But there was a place where tradition had long remembered something. Near the Lion's Gate, in the heart of Jerusalem, beside an old Crusader church dedicated to Saint Anne. For generations, this ground had been associated with healing and with the memory of a pool. Beneath the soil lay something, but no one yet knew its shape. In the late 19th century, archaeologists began to dig. What they found did not come all at once. This was not a single dramatic discovery, but a slow uncovering that would stretch across decades. Layer by layer, the ground gave up its history. The remains of a Byzantine church, a Crusader chapel, and beneath them, older and deeper, the edges of something far larger. Stone walls, steps descending into the earth, the outline of a great pool cut from the bedrock of Jerusalem. As the excavation widened, the shape became clear. This was not one pool, but 2, a pair of great basins side by side, an upper pool and a lower pool, and between them, dividing the 2, a broad central wall, a partition of solid rock, 4 sides around the outside, and a 5th running through the middle. There it was, the thing that could not exist. A 5-sided pool. Porticos had lined the 4 outer edges, and a 5th portico had stood upon that great central dam, dividing the upper pool from the lower. 5 covered walkways. exactly as John had written. The detail that scholars had dismissed as a symbol was not a symbol at all. It was a description. Precise, architectural, and correct. And there was more. Buried among the Dead Sea Scrolls, in a document known as the Copper Scroll, researchers found a reference to a place by a similar name, a pool in this very part of Jerusalem. The Gospel writer had not been guessing from far away. The pool was known. The place was real. And the strange, impossible detail of 5 porches had been an eyewitness's memory of a structure that genuinely stood. But the excavation revealed something the simple story often leaves out. The pool was more complex and stranger than anyone expected. Many scholars now believe these great basins were not ordinary pools at all, but mikvaot, vast Jewish ritual baths used for purification before entering the temple. The sick who gathered here may have come seeking that same cleansing power. The water itself was thought to heal. And then the layers tell a stranger story still. After the Romans crushed Jerusalem and rebuilt it as their own city, they raised a new structure over these very pools, a shrine to Asclepius, the Greek god of healing. Pagan baths, built directly upon the place where the sick had once waited for the waters to stir, layer upon layer, faith upon faith, all of them drawn to the same ground, a place that had meant healing for 1,000 years. So what does the pool finally tell us? It does not prove the miracle. Archaeology cannot lift a stone and reveal whether a man once stood and walked. But it proves something else. The place was real. The detail was accurate. The 5 porches that scholars called impossible were waiting beneath the earth all along, precisely where the Gospel said they would be. The writer of John knew this city. For nearly 2,000 years, a single verse was dismissed as invention, a symbol, a number with no pool to stand on. And then the ground answered. 5 porticoes rising from the bedrock of Jerusalem, exactly as one man had described them long ago. The stones remembered what the scholars had forgotten, and the house of mercy gave up its secret at last. If you'd like to keep searching with us through the places where history and scripture meet, subscribe and tell us which mystery we should uncover next.